Hi guys, welcome to Learn Electronics Repair. It's that time again. Car booty, yeah. So I have some interesting machines to look at this week. I think we can have a bit of fun with these. So let's start. Yeah, no messing about, let's start. So here is the first machine. You can see all the drives are missing out of it. Okay, this is an ATX machine. And we can see right down there. And what do we find? Well, come a little closer, my friends. We can see the power supply, and look what else we can see. Yeah, this is a slot 1 machine, Intel Pentium 2 or Pentium 3. So that's what we've got. Let's have a look at the back of the machine as well. Okay, here is the all-important rear end, as they say, yeah, the ass end of it, okay. And you can see there's no graphics card in here, and there's no onboard graphics, so this obviously had a graphics card in, which is being removed. It also has a sound card, and just from the view I'm on, I'm pretty sure that's an ISA sound card. So let's take the top off this machine, and let's have a better look at what's inside it. Well, this is what is inside it. Interesting then that the graphics card is missing, but the hard drive is in here, by the way. So if somebody removed drive to effectively remove any sort of like personal data, maybe they thought it was on the graphics card. I do hope that was the case, and rather than the case it was like a really nice graphics card, like a Voodoo 5 or something, and they've taken it out. That would be a shame. But for some reason, it isn't present. I'll take the motherboard and hard drive out of this one. The sound card we can see is, in fact, an ISA card, so that is nice. And let's have a look what we have once it's on the bench. This is quite nice and interesting, because if you look at the back, effectively this is like one big tray. There was one screw holding it in place. I've just removed the one screw, which was here, where it says, you probably can't see, but that says open. Okay, so remove the one screw, and then we will find, I think, that the entire tray, including the motherboard, slides out of the machine. Or at least that was the theory. The second theory is you push it sideways first, and then it slides out. Some like little metal hooks effectively holding it in place. You can see one of them there. So this has to move sideways by the looks of it to release. Doesn't want to, maybe something's holding it in place. Ah, little catch here. Is that what it is? We push or pull on this. No. Maybe this thing is what holds it in place. Ah. Okay guys, I've worked it out. So you lift this up slightly here, and then it slides out. Well, that was quite an interesting construction for an ATX case. I think I did see those back in the 90s, but it was a long time ago, 30 years ago in fact. So we can see we have a VIA PC133 motherboard, no RAM. PC133, I don't know if that's supposed to be the speed of it, rather than being like PC chips, which is a different make. So this is a VIA motherboard. I would say, at my best guess, 6xV133. So 133 would be the front side bus speed, okay? So this is 450 megahertz, 512 meg cache, 100 megahertz front side bus, 2 volts processor. And it's a little bit loose. It's like there should be some sort of clip which holds it in place, which isn't really holding it, or not firmly, but it's slotted in. It's a little bit more solid now. Push it in a bit more. So I think we can try to power this up without the RAM. We'll put the speaker on, get some indication of what's going on, and let's see if it works. We're ready to go. I've put the post analyzer here where we can see it. It's always interesting to look at the codes on these. Let's switch on and let's start. and in fact nothing happens. Okay. I'm fairly sure the power is on. Switch doesn't do anything. Wires haven't fell off the switch. Let's have a look if we have any standby voltage. So purple wire. We have 5 volts standby. What's on the switch? This end is 5 volts. This end should be ground, so that should start. But it doesn't even power on. That's interesting. Let's check what's happening on the green wire. So this is the one that signals back to the power supply to start. It has 5 volts to start with, and when we press this button it should go to 0. And this is not going to 0. Okay. So the motherboard is not sending a signal back to the power supply telling it to start. We can try the CMOS battery. That will be completely discharged, I would think, but I don't think that would stop it from running. But we can try. So we'll just switch the power off. Change this. Okay. Well, that's 3.2 volts in. That's good. Power on. Starts. Well, that's interesting. So a completely discharged CMOS battery actually prevented this from starting. Okay. It's stuck on C6. It's not making any bleeps. We do have a speaker on here. Okay. Will it switch off by pressing the switch? Yes, it switches off again. So that suggests the chipset is working, at least to a fair extent. And the fact it's actually counting up C1. So I would say it's stopping because there's no RAM, but it's a bit surprising it's not bleeping. Let's put some RAM in it. Here's a strip of PC133, 256 meg. Let's try this. Okay. Power on. Start. And now it's booting, and now it bleeps to say no graphics card. Interesting, it wouldn't bleep to say there was no RAM, but there we go. Let's find a graphics card. Well, I can't use the one I normally use with the capture card because the slot here is in the wrong place. So this selects the voltage, or rather only allows you to plug the correct voltage card into the slot. Okay. There's, I think, 1.8 volts and 3.3 volts, something like that. So I need to find a card which has a slot in the correct place. Like this one, for example. So this can work on both types. We'll plug this in. Okay. I'll have to use the VGA, so I can't use the capture, but we can point the camera at the screen. So there is our monitor on VGA. Let's have a look. So power on, start. The blue light's on, and we have something on the screen. Yeah, this one is booting up. There we go, Pentium 3, 450 megahertz. That looks quite promising. In that case, I'll plug a keyboard and mouse into it. I'll connect the hard drive that came with it. This is a Fujitsu hard drive. MPE 3064AT. I think this is a 6.4 gig from 1999. Jumper settings, master slave. Let's have a look. Well, it appears to be set to master, so that's what we would want. Well, let's give it a go. We're ready to go. Let's see what it does. You can hear the hard drive yourself. It's found it. Default's loaded. Okay, F1 to continue. and maybe it will try to boot from this drive. Windows XP. I'm not sure how well this will run with just 256 meg of RAM in it at the moment, but let's have a look. Yeah, and it's basically saying there's a problem with the hard drive most likely. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Let's see if it will boot anyway. Possibly the last time this was running, it just wasn't shut down properly. Family and Kiko. Okay, so we have some sort of users on here. Well, family doesn't seem to have any password, but the dog Kiko seems to have one himself. I can hear the drive rattling away. It's probably paging because of the low amount of memory on here, but we do have a desktop. So this machine is working. Very interesting that it would not start at all with a flat CMOS battery. Let's have a look to see what we have here. I would suspect it is worth some money. Pentium 3s basically are. The motherboard then is, as I mentioned, 6XV-133. And the sound card is this one, ISA sound card Gold 16 Rev 5. This is not a Sound Blaster card like a Sound Blaster Gold, I would say, because it doesn't say anywhere on it. CT, Creative Technology, the usual sort of part number. Looks like, I'm not quite sure what that is. Oh, is that an afterthought? They've sold the resistor in there, I think. Yeah, that's a 10k resistor fitted as an afterthought, and probably a pull-up resistor or a pull-down. That's fun. There's a connection here for wavetable daughterboard. You can see this cleaned up, it's just dusty. IDE, CD-ROM, okay. ESS audio drive. That's what we have. Normally speaking, sound cards are working, so I don't generally try them on these videos. Let's see if it's worth anything. And the motherboard. The motherboard first. 6XV-133. See if that finds anything. Well, of course, on eBay, you always find something, but sometimes it's nothing to do with what you were looking for at all. All that does actually say 6XV-133 in a different way, okay? So that's not found anything. I'll try adding VIA, VIA. If that helps us at all. And no, we have found a motherboard this time, but something completely different to ours. Let me search for this outside of eBay. Superpower SP6XV-133. Is that the one? It looks like it probably is. Yeah, that layout looks correct for our motherboard. So they are basically known of. The Retro Web, this website. We can add superpower to our search here, okay? And we don't find anything. How about if we go into advanced and look for sold listings? Now we find some, or something similar again, but not the same one. Try without the superpower, nothing. With VIA, similar but not the same thing. So I have a Pentium 3 motherboard, which nobody else seems to have one. We can see that some Pentium 3 motherboards are selling for good money, and some are selling quite cheaply. That means I honestly, guys, have no idea what that is worth. Yeah, is it valuable? Is it not valuable? one thing I can say is it appears to be rather scarce. How about a sound card? So gold-16 will stay in the sold listings. I'll add ISA to the search. And I don't find anything there. ISA sound card. Well, I'm finding ISA sound cards now, but nothing necessarily the same as the one I have. None of these look like the one I have. How about in the normal listings? I find an Edison Gold 16. Whether that's anything like mine, I don't know. It doesn't look like mine. So there it is, Gold 16. You can see it in all its glory, guys. Maybe some of you know what this is. Okay, well, I can't say if we have any money's worth or if we don't have any money's worth on that machine. I can say it is working. It is a Pentium 3 with an ISA sound card, so it should be worth something, and it should definitely be worth more than the €15 I paid for it. Okay, comments below. Let's look at the next one. This, well, it's falling off, but I think it's actually supposed to slide up and down. Yeah, it's sort of falling off. That sounds like it's an AT machine. Okay, we have Polaroid Burn Max 52. I've not seen that brand before, or not in this decade. Philips CD-ROM. Okay. Let's look at the other side. Well, we can say this is an AT machine. We can also say it's heavily corroded. So it's been stored somewhere a bit damp, which is a bit strange because it's very dry here, but there we have it. It's an AT keyboard. This looks like in fact it is a USB with a couple of other connectors on. Okay. Graphics card, sound card at the bottom. You think probably ISA again. I'm guessing this would have ISA slots. So let's have a look to see what we've got. This could be anything really, from a Pentium 1 to a 486 or a 386 for that matter. It'd be a bit surprising to be a 386 since somebody's put this on. If this is an add-on, I mean, this could be added to any machine with the USBs, but if it came with the motherboard, much more likely this is an early Pentium, like a Pentium 1. Let's have a look. I'm also thinking from the CD-ROM on the front of it, it's nothing earlier than a 486. Okay, what have we got? Well, let's all do it together. Okay, get your guesses in, guys. I think it's a Pentium 1 for the simple reason I've only ever found probably 2 or 3 486 machines, and all the time I've been going the car boot, but who knows? Well, that surprises me. It's another Pentium 2. Okay, it's a P2 on an AT motherboard. Okay, or is it ATX and it just looks like an AT? It's got an AT keyboard. Has it got a soft start button? Let's have a look at the power supply. Yeah, it's an ATX machine, so that push button on the front is actually a soft start. It's not an on-off switch. It was a bit hard to tell. The adapter here is in fact part of the motherboard. Okay, because it's very corroded, I'm going to take this apart. The sound card is just like not a sound card, it's just effectively a connector that was plugged into something. Okay, maybe the motherboard, yeah, it looks like it, probably was. Yeah, there's a socket for that down there. Let me take it apart and let's have a good look at what we have. Well guys, this is really quite interesting. So what I have here is an AT Pentium 2 motherboard, but it's also ATX, so it's either. It has both types of power connector on there. You can put this into an AT case or an ATX case. It's very much made like an AT motherboard, so there's no IO shield, or rather the IO shield that came with it is just that. Okay, and you can see we have the extension cables. This is the onboard sound card. This was disconnected because they had another sound card plugged in. This is the parallel port, and here we have the PS2 connections. Yes, let me see. Yes, that says mouse, that says IR or infrared, and then we have 2 USB. Apart from the corrosion on these metal backing plates, it looks pretty good, and I should imagine we could actually remove. Yes, we can just unscrew these, take them off, and probably get these cleaned up or polished up or something, and they look quite nice. The reason the sound card was unplugged, I think, is not because anything is wrong with it, although I can't be certain, but because this has been fitted. So this is a Creative Labs sound card, which I'm guessing is an upgrade on the onboard one. We see here, this is the onboard Sound Pro. And we have this, so Creative ES1370. This probably has a CT part number on it. Let's have a look. Well, Ensoniq 1997 it says, but it's a Creative chip for certain. No, in fact, this does not have the typical CT followed by 4 digits. Part number, maybe that was something that was added later, or maybe this is effectively a third-party sound card using the Creative Technology chip. I'm sure though from this name, Ensoniq 1997 or Creative Ensoniq or Creative in that number, one of these will tell us what this actually is. Although I'm sure some of you guys are shouting out at the screen already. Comments below, guys. We have a graphics card, AGP 4 meg graphics card, AG110JT, Trident 3D image, that's the chip, 97 again. Our massive 4 meg of RAM on there. This is an expansion, possibly for more memory or something else, like some sort of decoder. And it says Hurricane. So I'm guessing this is a Trident Hurricane. We can Google for that. But once again, I'm sure a lot of you guys are shouting out at the screen. If you didn't before, comments below now. And lastly, we have this little typical LAN adapter. I'm not going to bother with this. I just put them in the bin, to be quite honest. I don't have any use for them. I don't find I can sell them, so that can go. We have what I think is a 3.2 gig hard drive. And of course the optical drives, including the Polaroid one. It's not a brand I've seen lately at all, so maybe somebody might want that in particular. The other Philips I think is a very common thing. Max 52, again we can have a look at that and see if that is a collectible item or not. Probably this is worth something to somebody who used to have one of these back in the day and are trying to recreate the PC they owned 25 years ago or more. People do that, so then they're obviously looking for certain products. Whether that makes it valuable, I guess depends on how many people had them, how many people want to recreate it, and how many there are left. The processor is a Pentium 2. We can see the numbers on it. I'm pretty sure this is a 400 megahertz, 512K cache. That sounds right. The motherboard, well, PC100BXL. Pretty sure this is PC chips, but I could be wrong. I remember using motherboards just like this back in the day to build computers when we had a shop building and selling them. But it was a very long time ago, so of course I could be wrong. We also have manual settings on here for the multiplier. So this is how you used to overclock the processors back in the day as well, of course. I think I have everything ready to go. Power supply plugged in, switched on. Let's see if this will start. And it does start, but I'm just getting the codes FFFF on here. Like it's not starting or not booting. Okay, I'll take the graphics card back out. I'll take the RAM out. Let's go again. Power on. Start. We still have FFFF. I'll take this out because we did see a motherboard recently that wouldn't boot up with this thing in it. Let's try. Okay. Not in this case. I'll try to the different slot. I thought I might get some bleeps then. That's what I was hoping for. Let's go into the first slot. What do we get? No different. Might as well try the last one as well. Now we have 0, 0, but it's still not booting. It's giving us a different code, however. Okay. Let's see if we can reseat the CPU. So here's our CPU. Basically on here we have the processor and some cache memory. So have a look, you can just see down there. It has a connector a little bit like an AGP, so like 2 layers if you like of connections. There's obviously some corrosion on the clips holding the fan on. Okay. Let's just clean this with a bit of isopropyl and the same with the slot, and then let's see if that makes any difference. I've cleaned the slot, I've cleaned the processor, so hopefully that might help. Let's see if it made any difference. Power on. Well, it did make a difference, but now it won't start at all. Not quite what we wanted. Well, I found out why it wasn't wanting to start, and then it did start. This happens quite often to me, at least. Always check the test equipment, guys, yeah? Okay, that problem is solved. Well, it's booting further, that's for sure. I'll just put the monitor onto VGA and put the camera on it, because if we get anything out of this, and we in fact do, there we can see it saying checksum bad. I don't have a keyboard attached at the moment. I do have a yellow picture. That might be something to do with the graphics card, or it could just be a bad connection on the VGA lead, I'm guessing, or corrosion on the connector maybe. Let's put a keyboard on and see what happens. Okay. Yep, we're going to have a picture again. Here we go. Let's go into the BIOS. And it's saying boot failure. It seems like our graphics card has no blue. I've just got red and green, hence the yellow picture. Let's try to boot from the original hard drive. We can also try another graphics card as well. Well, we can hear the hard drive making a few good clunks. Okay, what have we got? Well, it has Linux on it. Okay, well you can see that just restarted the Linux. I'm actually going to switch it off, and I'm going to try my graphics card as well to see whether the problem with the missing blue is a problem with this graphics card. You can see the graphics card here, so it doesn't look particularly corroded. Yeah, some corrosion around the connector. I'll try a known good one. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's now white. So that was obviously a problem with the graphics card. Well, it's asking me something, yes or no, so I'll choose yes. Again. And exit. Okay, accept. What's it do? It might have been something to do with the graphics card being a different one to the one that was originally in there. And I think that's about as far as it wants to go. It's saying something about can't find file system to check all file system not mounted with quota option, whatever that means. And generally bitching about error inserting video, no such device, okay. That I'm certain is to do with this with a different graphics card. Okay, so I think we can say this is working. Let's see if it's worth anything. Let's see. The motherboard, it has no markings on other than PC100, BXL, so we can just try it. And there we're finding some motherboards. Oh, and that one is effectively like AT and ATX. It's not the same as mine, but it's similar. Does this one look more like mine? Yeah, this looks a lot like mine, okay. I'd say that probably is the same one I have. So, there we have it. Yeah, £57. That's, yeah, kind of what I would have expected, to be quite honest. We can have a look in sold listings, of course. This time, none that look like mine. But a similar thing, so this one is a PGA 370. I also had one like this as well, similar. So, £36. I think we can say £40–50 for the motherboard, something like that. The graphics card, let's say Trident Hurricane, see if that finds something. Bear in mind this has a yellow picture, there's no blue. And it looks like that is probably very similar to mine. Slightly different markings, but it looks exactly like mine, okay? So, yeah, £15. Not really worth messing around with unless somebody would like to see me try and get that one working. If we can figure out why there's no blue, it might be interesting. But only if you guys are interested enough for me to do it. Comments below. The sound card, well, this was the one that says Ensonic. Let's have a look. Well, we do, but not generally what we're looking for. We'll try creative. See if that gives us something. That looks exactly like mine. Yeah, that one looks just like mine. So, £25, something like that on that one. That looks identical. That is identical. That's the one. In fact, so it is a PCI 64 and Sonic. Okay, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, that number's on my chip. Okay, so that's an idea maybe what they're worth. £25, quite common for a PCI sound card. And while we're here, let's have a look at this small hard drive, because sometimes small capacity ones are actually worth a bit of money. For people who are building old retro machines that will not take a hard drive more than, say, 3 gig or 2 gig or something. Yeah, this is what I expected to find, you see. That one's a lot of money, but that's the same, and it is cheap, but they've sold some. Okay. So maybe another £12 on that, 20, 32. We're probably talking sort of £80, £90, something like that for all this stuff. Okay, that's not bad at all. And the Polaroid Burn Max 52, no, it's not worth anything. I think we have time for one more, so here it is. Powered by Microsoft, this one. Powered by Microsoft. Oh, Invest again. We've seen these Invest machines before if you've been watching the channel. Okay, so this is the machine. The last one we had was a Pentium 3. And we can see the back of it. So, not much corrosion on this one, which is nice. Obviously, game port, sound, parallel. This one has on board VGA. Okay, 2 USBs, serial, PS2. I'm going to stick my neck out again and say it's not a Pentium 3, because I don't think the Pentium 3s had onboard VGAs, I remember, but I could be wrong. I think this might be an AMD machine, like an Athlon or something. It's just a guess, and I'm sure you guys are guessing better than me. I think the only answer to this, guys, is to open it up and have a look, yeah? Well, I don't know, but let's all do it at the same time. Okay, here we go. Well, it's something like AMD, I think. Can't quite see on that socket. It will tell us if we can zoom in on it. It says 370, so in fact it is an Intel machine. It's another Pentium 3 by the looks of it, with onboard VGA. Let's get the motherboard out. There's no hard drive on this one. And let's have a look to see what we've got. Here we have it. This is an ECS motherboard. This one in fairly good condition, but it looks like a bit of corrosion or something. Down in this slot, this is a CNR or something like that. Not a lot of use. We have 2 PCI, and this is a Pentium 3. So I think we'll just see if this one's working first. I also have this with it, so this connects onto the motherboard here. This is again rather corroded, a LAN connector. In fact, no, it's a modem. I think there's a line on it. Let's try this. Hopefully my on-off switch works properly now. And it doesn't start. Now I've got the little red light, so I obviously have power on here. Interesting. I'll just check if this switch is actually okay. Easy way to prove it would just be to short the 2 pins. Well, it doesn't start. I'll make sure I have the power switch in the right place. Easiest way is to measure the voltage on the pins and find one that's going to ground. Okay, so let's do this. I've got a good ground. So one of these should have 5 volts. That one and this one, if I'm right, this will connect to ground. Yeah, so that does appear to be the power switch. Connect that on there. We can just check on the switch actually. Just check across the switch, you'll have 5 volts on it. Yes, it does. When I press the switch, it should go to 0. So that is actually operating, but the motherboard is not starting at all. Another place we can check is on the green wire here. So this is what should go to 0 volts to start the motherboard. Let's have a look. Connect to the green, connect to one of the blacks. So we have 5 volts on there. And we press the button and nothing happens. So it's not sending a signal to start the ATX power supply. I'm pressing the switch. We know the switch is working, nothing's happening. Let's check the CMOS battery. And that is completely flat. Let's see if it's stopping this one working. We had one that was doing this, so I guess it's possible we could have another one. Try another battery. Three volts, fine. And this one doesn't start. I'll take the thermal camera. Let's have a quick look, see if we can spot anything with this. In fact, actually, no, let me take this out, but I can't see that stop it from powering up. No, it still doesn't power up. Okay, thermal camera. Well, we can see straight away something is very warm on here. Just find out where this glowing thing is. Oh, that one. And it's very hot. Okay, there's your problem. So you can see what the problem is with this straight away. That is glowing really hot. It's either short or something, but I'm just looking down here. Or is that just a bit of fluff or something? No, it's just a bit of fluff. I doubt that is conductive, but hey, why not try again? Okay, so there's our chip, still quite warm. Let's power this back up again. And you can see the temperature climbing, 60, 70, 80 degrees, 85, 90 degrees. That's way too hot, okay? So that is definitely faulty, or there's a short or something on an output of it, but I suspect it's faulty, okay? Switch it off again. So to try and fix this first, I would try and change this chip if I can get one. I might be able to get one of these off AliExpress. Let's have a look. Yes, I can find these chips. So they're actually quite inexpensive. The only thing is that these seem to be somewhat different to mine. So they have these letters IXS, KXS, HXS. Mine says DYS. But the marking is the same. So it's possible this is just a date code or something. I mean, I don't know enough about this chip. Let me look for a data sheet. So it says it's the EC or LPC IO, Super IO I would have called it. I'm just searching for these letters like IXS or HXS to see if it mentions something in the data sheet about them. It's not finding them, so I think they probably are something like date codes. So I think in this case it's probably worth me just ordering one or two of these. They're not expensive. I'm not sure if it will fix the problem or not. It may do. I mean, if we look at this chip, it is basically involved in this part of the circuit, and it also has the mouse, keyboard, joystick, I/O ports and various other things connected to it. So quite often the things that fail are the things that are generating a lot of power, like MOSFETs and switching transistors, or in another instance the things that are connected to the outside world, because it's easy for some stray voltage to get into this and mess the chip up. So it is the sort of thing that would fail. It's the chip that is partially involved in starting up the motherboard as well. So I think it's worth a try. Let's change it and let's see If there's some short circuit or something around it, maybe the same thing will happen again. But given the cost of the thing and they're not difficult to change, let's just go for it. So we have two working retro machines. We have one to look at. We'll get one of these chips, and out of interest, let's see if it does fix it. Any suggestions from you guys? Comments below, yeah. Let me know. Hope you enjoyed that one anyway. We had 2 out of 3 to start off with, so it was pretty successful really. I always enjoy looking at this retro hardware. I know a lot of you guys enjoy looking at it too. So until next time, on Learning Electronics Repair, ciao for now guys.